Hello YouTubers and preppers, welcome to the channel. I'm Evita, Cooks and Preps. If you're new, thank you for the support and for joining the Evita family. We're glad to have you. Today I have a very quick and fun project. Typically that means that I'm going to be fermenting something like the kimchi or sauerkraut and even the sourdough starters that I've been experimenting with in the last few weeks. However, today I have an all-natural soda that you can make at home with some basic ingredients. I'm going to be making a raspberry bug or starter. I call it a raspberry bug. Some people call them fermentation starters because these bugs or starters can be used to ferment other things like carrots. You could even use it when you make your kimchi, your sauerkraut, or if you're fermenting vegetables like beets, string beans, you name it. You could use the fermentation starter to kickstart your fermented fruits and vegetables. But if you like, we can do a whole separate video on the many ways that you can use a fermentation starter or a bug to make fermented foods. I'm going to be making some fermented eggs and I need a starter to go with that, and I'm probably going to be using this one right here. And I figure since I have to make a new one, I will share the process with you. The first ingredient that I'm using is freeze-dried raspberries. Now you can make a fermentation starter out of almost anything. It could be vegetables, it could be fruit. However, I will caution that it's always best to use either fresh fruit or dried vegetables. I've tried making it with frozen fruits and I have not been very successful, or at least it doesn't get as fizzy as I would like it to. But keep in mind that one of the main factors for a successful fermentation is the environment and the temperature inside your home. If you live in a very cold environment, you probably have to find the warmest area in your kitchen where you can keep your ferments so that they can become active. One of the things that I've noticed here in Florida, in the summertime, my ferments go very quickly because in Florida it's very damp and very humid, especially in the summertime. However, in the fall and in the winter months, I have a really difficult time even with my sourdough starters. They take a little bit longer. That's not to say that it won't work, it just takes a little bit more time, that's all. Besides the freeze-dried raspberries, I'm going to use some ginger candy or crystallized ginger. You can use fresh ginger if you have it available, that's fine too. We need some organic cane sugar and some purified water. I always use organic cane sugar for many reasons, but the most important one is that organic cane sugar is not processed. Therefore, it still has all those wonderful minerals that are very beneficial, especially when you're making fermented drinks or starters like this one. This process is very easy. And today, for the purpose of the video, I'm only going to be making a pint-sized jar, but you can make as much or as little as you want. It's just going to depend on what you're going to be using it for. And you're going to see just how easy it is to make. It's very simple and you could use whatever you have on hand. It doesn't have to be raspberry. If you have fresh strawberries or dry strawberries, you can make it with strawberries, oranges, apples. My favorite is the kiwi. I have to say, the kiwi flavored one is delicious. Almost tastes a little bit like champagne. So the first thing I'm going to do is, my jar's already clean by the way. I'm going to be measuring the raspberries so that I can give you a full recipe. You can eyeball any of these ingredients and the result will still be the same. For a pint-sized jar, I'm going to be adding about 2 tablespoons of the freeze-dried raspberries. You can add more or less, it's up to you. But for this size, 2 tablespoons is plenty. Keep in mind that these are freeze-dried and they're going to expand when we add the water. I'm also going to need some ginger and I'm using this ginger candy. You can use crystallized ginger or fresh ginger if you have it available. And I'm going to be using about 15 grams, typically 2 pieces about that size. You can add them whole if you want, but I think that when you slice them thinly, you maximize the flavor of the ginger and also it works more effectively and quicker. So I'm just going to thinly slice it. You can chop it if you want. If you're using fresh ginger, you could add the whole piece of ginger to the jar, or you can julienne it, even grate it if you want. So far, far, this is pretty easy. The truth is that the hardest part to do is wait for it to be ready. Other than that, it's pretty simple. And I'm going to be adding some organic cane sugar, and the amount of sugar you use depends on the fruit that you're using. If you're using a fruit that is fairly sweet, you may want to titrate the amount of sugar that you're adding. But I usually start with 2 tablespoons of the organic cane sugar. As it ferments, and if I see that after 24 to 48 hours, it's not fermenting, maybe you want to add a little bit more sugar. This is why these recipes are so wonderful and so versatile, because you can work with them. You can tailor it to your needs and the things that you like, and make different flavor fermentation starters. Lastly, we're going to be adding some water, and I'm using purified water. I always advise to stay away from city tap water because of the chlorine that will slow down the fermentation process. Now leave a little bit of room for those raspberries to expand, and also for the bubbling that's going to occur in the process. Typically, the fermentation starters can take anywhere between 3 to 7 days. Again, that's going to depend on the environment and also the internal temperature of your home, as well as the type of fruit that you use. And the last thing that we have to do is we have to put a lid on it. Now, these things claim to be leak proof, but to be honest with you, most of the time they're not. If you can get your hands on these gaskets, these are silicone gaskets or liners, go ahead and use them. And all you have to do is, for the next 3 to 7 days, you want to shake it every day and also burp it daily, because we're making a fermentation. The likelihood of these bubbling over and spilling over the counter, especially in the first couple of days, are pretty great. Remember, we're making a ferment, therefore, as those microbes eat through the sugar, it's going to generate CO2, thus creating bubbles and gases that need to go somewhere. So that's why it's very important that every day you remember to burp it, at least for the first 3 days or so, which by then, depending on the temperature of your home, this might be ready. And it's important that you keep it in the warmest area of your kitchen or of your home, but also close enough that you remember to check them daily, because it's happened to me, and you have a lot of projects going at the same time, you're likely to forget them. The last thing that you have to do, remember, is it's very important that you label your ferment, first of all, so you know what they are, and second, so that you can keep track of them. And if you want to see more and you enjoyed this type of tutorial, be sure to let YouTube know by simply giving this video a thumbs up, leave us a comment below the video, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And until next time, I'm Evita, Cooks and Preps. Bon appetit! Happy fermenting, everyone! You really have to try.